Welcome back to another edition of Seed Time and Harvest. We're so glad that you're with us, and we want to present to you a special edition of Seed Time and Harvest.
That's right. As we see so many calamities are taking place around the world, we see fires, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, and all these things going on. Even ourselves, we experienced the power outage. So today we're going to talk about emergency preparedness.
That's right. What would we do if we didn't have any running water? Didn't we have to go through that, Sharice?
Yes, that's right. But thank God we were prepared first.
That's it. Thank the Lord, because, you know, we're telling people that they need to get ready. The crisis is coming. And so the Lord has given us these small crises so we can see where we are for the crisis to come.
That's right. So how do we survive without water biblically? What can we recall an account in the Bible where some people had to do without running water?
Well, there was an incident where they had water, but the water was not fit to drink.
Okay.
And this account can be found in Exodus chapter 15. If we look at the screen here, it says in Exodus 15, verse 23, "And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord. And the Lord showed him a tree, which when he did cast into the waters were made sweet." And so here we see a principle of Moses asking God for wisdom as to how are we going to drink water? We're in need, Lord. And the Lord gave him a vision of putting a tree in. And also there's ways that we can purify our water. Isn't that right?
That's right. Even just before Hurricane Irma came in, like within the same week, we were trying to find bottled water at the store.
That's right.
And for visiting several places, we couldn't get any water. All the supermarkets were out of water. And the thought dawned on me, okay, why are we scrambling around looking for water when a hurricane is coming? What do we generally get with a hurricane? Rain.
Right.
Many people don't consider whether or not it's safe to drink water. But as for rain and any other source of water, we're going to just demonstrate to you how you can make your water fit for consumption.
That's right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to show you how to make a filter.
That's right. And you can do that with simple things you have at home. Of course, you have a water bottle, scissors, cheesecloth. These are simple things that we're going to demonstrate to you how you can have clean water to drink in a time of crisis.
That's right. And as we look at our next slide here, we see that, Sharice, you're doing something with a block of charcoal.
Charcoal, that's right.
It looks like you're hitting it with that brick there. Tell us what you're doing.
Well, here we have a block of charcoal. There is a special way to make charcoal to have it fit for purification. Many of us are familiar with activated charcoal, which absorbs poison, it absorbs toxins and bacteria found in anything. Now, prior to the discovery of activated charcoal, people prior to 1767, when bottled water just started coming out, purified water just started coming out, individuals back then used to use charcoal, simply placing charcoal in a jar of water and allowing it to sit for 24 hours. The charcoal will absorb the toxins in that water and make it safe for you to drink. Now, we are going to show you how to make a charcoal filter. So you're going to get the charcoal. Of course, you want to make sure you have a sturdy surface. And you're going to grind your charcoal into a powdered form. And here we have the powdered form of our charcoal. Of course, it took us several sifting for it to get to the powdery consistency.
As you can see in the slide, there you are. You're sifting it right there.
Right. So we ground it with the brick, or you can use a hammer or anything that's strong, not something that's going to break or something that's flimsy, because, of course, this is charred wood.
Right.
So you ground it up, make into a powder, you sift it. And then in the next step, Jose, we're going to just get our bottle, and in the cover of the bottle, you're going to make a hole in the top of the bottle, and then you're going to cut the bottom off. Now, of course, you can get a pre-made filter. As you see here, we have a Brita filter. But if you're in an emergency and you don't have a Brita filter, what are you going to do? This is something simple that you can use. All right? And then you just need a container to catch your water. Of course, here we're using a small bottle, but you can use a 16-ounce container or a larger container if necessary. And you need a cheesecloth. If you don't mind opening those bags for me so we can pour them in. I'm just going to cut a piece of cheesecloth here. And what this is going to do, you can use any fabric. It's going to strain the water for you, so none of the particles that are going to be in the bottle will go through. All right, so you're just going to cover the bottle with the cloth on it. And, okay, so Jose, what's the next step?
So the first thing we're going to add is the charcoal. And this is going to be the final step of the purification for the filter.
Right.
And so we want a good amount of charcoal in it so it can absorb all the bacteria and anything that may harm us. We want to make sure that that charcoal, it catches that.
Yes. The difference between charred wood and activated charcoal is the particles in the activated charcoal are smaller. So as you see with this Brita filter, you won't need as much because this charcoal is activated. So to make up for the effectiveness, you would just use more of the charred wood. Okay, and there is a special way to make charcoal or charred wood for purification. And then the next step, we're going to add sand.
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the sand. And this is going to catch your larger particles. So the charcoal will catch the smaller particles. The sand will catch the larger ones. And it will catch the sediments and things like that. Also some of your microbes. So this is going to be the second layer of filter.
Okay.
And finally, we're going to add some gravel to the top of that. And this is going to catch your larger particles. And so we're getting finer and finer particles as we go through.
And there you have it. This is your own homemade filter that you can use. If you're out in the country and the only source of water that you can find is a stream or even flooded water, you can purify that water to make it safe for consumption. As we said, the charcoal is going to absorb the bacteria, the microbes, anything that is going to be harmful in that water will be absorbed by the charcoal.
Right. And so as you pour the water in there, you may want to run it through a few times before you actually start drinking the water.
Right.
And then I would say it would be ready for consumption. Now, if we look at our next slide here, you can see that the water is dripping already. It's going to take some time for it to come through. So we're going to show you here in the video, as you see, the water does go through there. All right. So, Sharice, you were talking about rainwater. And so can we just go out and open our mouth and drink the water if it's raining?
Well, back in the days, that's what we did. But then again, we were in the country. So rainwater is safe for drinking. Prior to the discovery of bottled water, people lived mainly, their main source of water was either a deep well or rain. You know, rainwater is very much safe for drinking. The only thing about rainwater that we would not suggest, if you're living in an area where you have an electric plant or you have some form of factories nearby or a chemical plant near you, those are the only locations that you would not be safe, or you'd have to purify your water. Now, if you're in the country setting, you know, you'd used to run outside, open your mouth, and get some good rainwater, because that's the water the Lord provides.
That's where the filter comes in handy.
Yes.
If you live in the city next to a place where the water's unfit for whatever reason, then you filter it.
Right.
But we also want to show you how you can catch your
rainwater. Yes. I know back home in the Caribbean, we had, right at the the side of our house, we had a rain barrel. And that was our source of drinking water, from that rain barrel. Now, when you collect your rainwater, of course, you want to make sure that it's free from any form of contamination, okay? So you're going to get your bucket. If you don't have a 5-gallon bucket, however size, you can use a small container, whatever size that you have, suitable to catch enough rainwater, sufficient for different purposes. What are some of the things that we can do with rainwater?
Well, since the rainwater is clean, if you are in the country, then you can drink the water. You can cook with the water.
Yes.
You can do a lot of
Laundry,
things, even laundry.
flushing toilets, showering. There's so many things. Watering plants. I believe the best water for your plants is rainwater.
That's true.
So there's so many things you can do with the natural water that God has given us.
Yeah, I've never seen the flowers blossom or the fruits blossom quite as well as with the rainwater. The rainwater seems
it's
to be
just refreshing.
Everything looks greener after it rains.
After it rains, that's right. That's right.
So what are we going to use here?
So when you go to collect your rainwater, you want to make sure that you put your catchment container or your rain barrel free from anywhere it will get contaminated. Of course, you wouldn't put it under a tree because we don't know what are in the trees, whether animals are there, some form of poisons from the limbs or the leaves if they're poisonous. So you put it out in the open. Now, there are a lot of contaminations in the atmosphere, okay? So when it starts raining, I prefer to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes after it starts raining before you collect your rainwater. So all the contaminations in the atmosphere will already be washed out. So you will go outside in the rain. It doesn't, it doesn't hurt to get wet now and then. And you would put your bucket in the open area. Now, to prevent debris from getting in your water, that's where.
Now what we have here, this is a screen. From your window. And so this will prevent any bugs or any debris
leaves or anything
like that
from
to fall
getting into your bucket.
So simply just put it around it, and then
you just want to secure this.
Yeah, you want to secure this with maybe a block.
A block or bricks or anything strong that won't blow away, cause your bucket to blow away with the wind. All right, and there you have it. This is a simple way to collect your rainwater. Of course, you can collect this, you can bring it inside, store it in a rain barrel, you can store it in your bathtub, different places so you can get easy access to water after the disaster strikes.
That's right. Now, one of the problems with the water is, the fact that it may become contaminated over time as well.
Right.
So, one of the things you want to do, and also in preparation for an emergency, you want to make sure that you're catching your own water.
Yes.
You're preparing for the storm. So we knew that a hurricane was coming. And so what we did is we got all the large containers
in our house, even the small ones, the water bottles, whatever you have at home that can hold water, you will store water.
Right. And this water here, we were not planning on drinking. We were going to use this for washing the
dishes,
toilets,
showering,
flushing the toilets. But for our drinking water, we have a barrel.
Yes.
And this barrel here, you can see the spigot on it. This would be for our emergency drinking water. We also did manage, by God's grace, to get water for drinking. Right. So we had stored water for drinking, and we also had our emergency backup barrel.
Yes.
Now we're thinking about getting another barrel because we used mostly only the water from the barrel during the emergency when we had no water.
Yes, and I just want to mention that in the event that you do collect rainwater, the CDC recommends boiling any form of water that's exposed to contaminants for at least 3 to 5 minutes at a rolling boil. So after you put your water on the fire and it starts boiling, allow 3 to 5 minutes, and that will kill all the bad stuff that's in the water and make it safe for drinking. Another option is you have chlorine. You can add a dash of chlorine to your water, and that will help to purify it as well. All right?
You only need maybe 1 ounce for every 100 gallons.
Yes.
So just splash a little bit of chlorine and wait till it kills any bacteria or anything like that. Now, what happens if you see that the water starts to be blurry or
Yes.
white color.
When you add chlorine to your water, you want to at least wait 24 hours for all of that to evaporate, to get out of the water before you drink it. Now, if the water gets foggy, then you know it's not fit for consumption. So that water, you can use it to flush toilets or do something other than bringing it in contact with your person.
Right, so that water right there will actually disinfect a lot of water.
Yes, this
Now,
chlor-
finally, we want to tell you another way for you to have water that is safe to drink. After you boil it, then you can also store it.
Right.
And what method is that, Charisse?
Well, if you use a water bath canner, you can store water for, indefinite if you can your water. Of course, you're going to need a mason jar, something that will do well under high temperature. You put your water in, it doesn't matter how high you put it, the level of water, you just need to leave at least 1/4 of an inch for air space, and you will boil your water until the lid is sealed, then you store it, and you'll have water until you run out.
Right, and as you can see here in this slide, we see the water bathing canner pot here.
Yes, so
with
there were
a metal
lift.
on the bottom, so that way your glass doesn't hit the heat directly and break
Right.
as a result. And then you have some tongs that you use because you're going to be dealing with something that's very hot
Yes.
to pull them out of that canning bathing or pot that
Water
they're-
bath, right.
The water bath.
Yes.
Yes.
Another thing I want to mention too, if you're in the country, you'll have a well. Many people think, okay, we're going to go in the country, we'll have a well, so we will always have water. That's not true, because if the electricity goes, then your water goes, and
That's
the
right.
bladder will only hold so much. So if you are in the country, I would, recommend that you do get a hand pump. If you have a hand pump attached to your well, then you'll always have a source of drinking water.
Right, and that's going to lead us into our next video when we talk about how will you survive without electricity. So tune in next time as we talk about that. And once again, thank you for joining us here at Seed Time and Harvest. And happy planting.
Happy planting.